Hello, I'm Milan Shravinsky and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. And tonight we turn our spotlight to Belarus and its very own despot, Alexander Lukashenko. Yes, the man who runs Belarus like it's his personal collective farm has recently decided to indulge in a bit of vintage anti-Semitism. Lukashenko, in his infinite wisdom, recently posed the burning question: why are most of the corrupt individuals in Belarus Jewish? He actually said, and I quote, "Out of 3 people listed, forgive me, I am not an anti-Semite, but more than half are Jews. Do they hold a special privileged position that they steal and do not think about their future? Everyone is equal before the law, Jews, Belarusians, Ukrainians, Russians and Poles." End of quote.
Вот 30 человек перечислены. Вы меня извините, я не антисемит, но больше половины евреев. Это что, они у нас особое привилегированное положение занимают, что они воруют и не думают о своем будущем? Все одинаковы перед законом. И евреи, и белорусы, и украинцы, и русские, и поляки.
Lukashenko, a true humanitarian. Jews have the same rights as everyone else, especially the right to be scapegoated, apparently. Now, it's interesting because you don't hear him attributing crimes to any other nationalities or ethnicities quite so specifically. You know, like an anti-Semite who's deeply confused about what anti-Semitism actually is. Lukashenko's statements are the verbal equivalent of stepping on a rake, hitting himself in the face, and then blaming the rake for being Jewish, I guess. It's as if he's taken a page out of a very outdated, very offensive playbook and thought, yes, that's exactly the right move in 2024. This kind of rhetoric is not just offensive, it's dangerous. It's the same old toxic blame game that dictators have played for centuries to distract from their own incompetence. Oh, the economy is in shambles. Let's blame a minority group. People are protesting my rule. Must be the Jews. What Lukashenko is doing is stirring the pot of hatred and prejudice, hoping that the stink will mask the scent of his own failures. But here is the kicker. It will not work. It never has and it never will. People see through this charade. Blaming Jews for corruption in Belarus is as absurd as blaming the weather for your bad haircut. I mean, in Lukashenko's case, it wouldn't work because he doesn't really have much of a haircut. But anyway, it is just as pathetic as any attempt to divert attention from the real issues plaguing his regime. He does it all the time, but does it really work? Not necessarily. In conclusion, Lukashenko's antics are not just a bad joke. They're a dangerous reminder of how quickly and easily hate can be weaponized by those in power. So while the world watches and laughs at the absurdity, let's not forget to keep a close eye on the very real and very harmful consequences of such despicable rhetoric. And remember, if you ever find yourself questioning whether someone is an anti-Semite, just check if they start a sentence with "I'm not an anti-Semite, but..." That's usually a pretty good indicator. And now for the latest pearls of wisdom from Russia's own Kremlin ventriloquist dummy, Dmitry Peskov. Yes, the man whose job is to put a rosy spin on Russia's most sinister policies recently sought to enlighten us about Moscow's plans for the city of Kharkiv. Now, Peskov said that Russia is creating a cordon sanitaire in Kharkiv. Ah yes, nothing screams peaceful intentions like a buffer zone with sinister connotations, because apparently, when Russia invades and occupies territory, it's not an act of war, it's more like spring cleaning. Just think of it as Marie Kondo, but with tanks and artillery. He then assured his audience that even if Ukraine's politicians, like President Zelensky, publicly dismiss these quote-unquote peaceful initiatives, there will be more reasonable heads within the Kiev regime who will think twice before allowing the situation to deteriorate further. You see, in Peskov's fantasy world, Ukraine should be grateful for this invasion. Maybe they should send a thank you note, like, "Dear Russia, thanks for the unsolicited home makeover. P.S. Please leave."
Озвучено 4 региона – ДНР, ЛНР, Херсонская область и Запорожская область. Но возникает вопрос, а вот Харьковская область, из которой нас бомбят, и которая совсем близко, Одесса та же самая.
Ну, смотрите, по Харьковской области идет же работа по созданию буферной зоны, санитарной зоны. Эта работа продолжается, разумеется, пока мы не обезопасим Щебекино, Белгородскую область, другие наши области. От таких варварских обстрелов, конечно же, эта работа не прекратится.
Classic Kremlin doublespeak. They call it a buffer zone, but it's really a thinly veiled threat. Accept our terms or face more devastation. It's like a mobster saying, nice country you got there. Would it be a shame if something happened to it? So remember, folks, next time you hear Russia talking about peace and buffer zones, just translate it to what it really means. We're taking your land, and you'd better smile and thank us for it. Because in the twisted world of Russian diplomacy, occupation is liberation, and war is just a friendly neighborhood cleanup. Now, last week we told you how and what exactly Russian bots are doing to spoil the elections to the European Parliament. But they didn't stop there. According to reports from Friday night, bots from Doppelganger, one of the biggest Kremlin-affiliated disinformation networks targeting Western audiences, have begun a mass campaign to disseminate pictures of celebrities with fake quotes pasted on them. Now, what the bots did was to publish 50 photos on X, formerly known as Twitter in the good old days, and then other accounts retweeted them over 120,000 times. Now, these posts pulled in over 500,000 views in total. The fake statements were attributed to well-known celebrities, and these were no D-listers either. The faces used in this campaign included actress Angelina Jolie, director Luc Besson, singer Elton John, and soccer star Lionel Messi. The quotes, meanwhile, came in English, French, German, and Polish to reach as broad an audience as possible, to spread their lies more effectively. A significant part of the fake quotes call for abandoning support for Ukraine, which of course is playing into the Kremlin's hand. Moscow has repeatedly used lies and manipulation, inventing false pretexts for its unjustified invasion of Ukraine, and to try to undermine international solidarity with the Ukrainian people. So, next time you see some wild celebrity quotes on the internet, be sure to check their origins. Now, sadly, Russian war crimes is essentially an inexhaustible topic. One crime they have gotten particularly adept at is the kidnapping of Ukrainian children. Since the start of the full-scale war back in 2022, Russia has been deporting children from Ukrainian soil using a variety of methods and avenues. For example, children are deported under the guise of evacuation, rehabilitation, or treatment. All of these are just euphemisms for what is essentially a well-defined war crime. Ukrainian children are forcibly and fraudulently taken out of the occupied Ukrainian territories. Their identity papers are changed to Russian ones, and some of them are even forcibly adopted in Russia despite having living relatives in Ukraine. And international organizations are deliberately prevented from helping these children return home. Just take a look what Russian Deputy Anna Kuznetsova recently said at the final meeting of the Parliamentary Committee on Investigating Crimes Committed by the Kiev regime against minors, that's a true name by the way, which was held at the Russian State Duma.
Предлагаем разработать систему комплексной реабилитации детей, пострадавших от преступных действий страны киевского режима на федеральном уровне, создав реестр пострадавших от действий киевского режима детей, их социальные паспорта, определить правовой статус детей, пострадавших от военной агрессии киевского режима для последующей их поддержки, оценить ущерб от преступных действий киевского режима, создать координационный центр по сбору и обработке всей информации о преступлениях киевского режима.
First things first, Kiev regime, lady, Ukraine is a democracy, you're not a democracy, so no Kiev regime. Moscow regime, yeah, absolutely. Russia has attacked Ukraine, killing parents, stealing children, and now has the sheer gall to claim that it's the Kiev regime that is responsible for some nebulous crimes. In case there are still people out there who see nothing wrong with the forcible adoption of Ukrainian children in Russia, let us explain one thing to you. Adopting Ukrainian kids in the Russian Federation is illegal because under international and domestic laws, for foreigners to adopt a Ukrainian child, Kiev must be notified and consent of relevant guardians obtained, which Ukraine did not give. However, Russia has been circumventing these laws by granting Ukrainian children Russian citizenship. But that's Russia to you, a country whose main export commodity, apart from fossil fuels, is apparently war crimes. And with this, we conclude this episode of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.